Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Barbara. I'm a customer success manager here at GIS Cloud. And with me today is Boan, our customer success specialist. And we're very excited to show you around. So today's topic is critical infrastructure and water utilities. I think we can get started in maybe a minute or two, just so we can see if anyone else will join in. But yeah, in the meantime, maybe Boan would like to say hi as well.
Yeah, hi everyone. Hope you're going to enjoy today's webinar. And yeah, like Barbara said, let's wait a few more minutes so we get a decent sized audience.
Yeah, we do want to mention, so today's webinar, as with all of our webinars, it is being recorded so that you can rewatch it at a later date. Of course, the recording will be available, I think, within a few days. It's usually like that. It will be available on our blog and on our other social media, such as Vimeo and YouTube as well. So feel free to take a look over there. If you're having any issues hearing us, if you're having any issues with the screen, please just let us know in the chat so that we can kind of react as soon as possible. And of course, we will have a Q&A section at the end, so feel free to ask any questions over there, but also feel free to jump in if you have any questions in the meantime too. Okay, I think we can get started. So let's see what our agenda for today is. So specifically, we'll be talking about critical infrastructure and water utilities. So our webinar for today will be a bit more generic in terms of water utilities in general, because if you're already a GIS Cloud user, you might be aware. So GIS Cloud is a very open platform. So we do have examples of use cases and clients from all kinds of different industries, all different use cases. So it's very simple to set up a workflow that works for you. Today, we'll be focusing on water utilities, but of course, even within an industry in particular, you can always kind of go even further, even more specific. So what we will be covering today are 4 different use cases, so it will be a bit more generic, but it is maybe a good place to mention. So we will have some additional water utility specific content soon. We'll be hosting another webinar in the coming weeks that's specifically will refer to one of those use cases where we will go into a bit more detail on how it's set up, what kind of benefits you can achieve by setting up the workflow in GIS Cloud. So do make sure to keep an eye on our socials to see when the next webinar will be out. But of course, we'll be talking about the benefits of digital transformation in water utilities. We'll also see what the main challenges are that kind of prohibit or maybe slow down these kinds of transformations. We'll demonstrate a few use cases or more specifically solutions and how they can be implemented within GIS Cloud. And then, of course, we'll take one of these and we'll show you an example setup, a demo that you can then see how it might fit within your workflow as well. Of course, this will be live so that you can kind of see what we're doing and maybe jump in with any questions. And of course, at the end, as we mentioned before, a Q&A section. So feel free to leave any questions, comments, things like that in the Q&A section or just in the chat, whichever works best for you. Okay, so let's get started. I think we can all agree that in water utilities, but of course this is kind of true for most utilities probably, there's always an increasing pressure, there's growing demand for the services because of course there's more people. And there's also the issue of aging infrastructure, pressures of spreading the infrastructure, as well as the responsibility to respond to increasing environmental concerns due to pollution and climate change. So those are all kind of issues that we're facing. And the best way to tackle that and to approach this problem is through a digital transformation. I don't think it's necessary to say that, of course, it's the main benefit. But specifically, when we talk about GIS, it means kind of harnessing the power of digital maps and data to better manage any kind of asset that you have. So anything from water pipes, hydrants, valves, pumps, treatment plants. So any kind of small or large asset can be managed in this way. And also this means using digital forms for inspections instead of pen and paper. So it's walking away from the traditional and messy into something that's a lot more structured, maintainable, and of course, available for everyone. By going digital, water utilities can better track the assets, as we mentioned. This allows you to better plan any kind of maintenance activities. It allows you to more effectively respond to any issues that might arise, like leaks or any kind of water quality concern. And of course, these are just part of the benefit. Efficient planning and analysis, that's kind of enabled by the digital transformation, can ensure that you can keep up with the growing population, as well as the needs that are kind of constantly changing, ensuring that everyone has access to water, which of course is the main thing. Apart from that, it can also help you cut cost and optimize cost, because it can help you spot some wasteful practices, fix problems before they actually become costly, and use all of the resources that you have a lot more wisely, of course, ultimately saving you money. Apart from that, you can work with this digital transformation to monitor your assets and detect problems early, which means that you can actually then prevent any kind of issues like leaks or equipment failure, so that everything in the water system is running smoothly and you're minimizing the disruptions for customers, which of course is later on part of the cost of optimizations, because it's ultimately saving you money as well. Of course, everything comes with its own challenge. Digitizing a critical infrastructure in the water industry presents unique challenges in itself. The initial investment into software and hardware can be quite substantial due to, you have to purchase licenses, you have to upgrade infrastructure, provide training to employees. That can all require significant financial resources. So it's important to find a solution that minimizes this as much as possible. So if you don't have to take in consideration any kind of additional hardware, you can just focus on the software, and have something like a SaaS where you can just pay as you go. Legacy systems can also worsen this kind of challenge because they're often very incompatible with modern technology, making it harder to integrate data and thus leading to fragmented information that's stored in separate databases. Additionally, integrating these new digital solutions can also face resistance within the company or organization, because there will always be people who are maybe not comfortable with change. It's always difficult to kind of get started. There's a lot to do, so that definitely necessitates very careful change management strategies to overcome this reluctance. If you're using any kind of industry-specific software, this might not always work well with other systems, which means that data doesn't flow smoothly between different parts of the company. And essentially, it can definitely cause confusion, making it a lot harder to get things done. So what you really need here is a system that kind of tackles all of these challenges, that's cost-effective, that is very easy to set up, where you don't have to worry about onboarding users, where you can be sure that the users are onboarded and educated very quickly, that's easy to pick up by anyone, so that the kind of process to change is pretty straightforward and simple for anyone who is using the system. And of course, you want to make sure that you have a system that is open to different kinds of integrations, so that even if you still need to use other tools as part of your workflow, which of course is usually always the case. You want to make sure that you have something that is open to these kinds of integrations. So what we wanted to share today are 4 different use cases within water industries or water utilities that we've kind of singled out from our extensive years of working with water utilities. These are just 4 different solutions or use case types that we cover usually. Of course, we can go into a lot more detail with each of those, and we will be making separate content on that as well. So as I mentioned, feel free to kind of stick around for that as well. But today we'll be focusing on the 4 main ones: water infrastructure management, leak detection, water quality monitoring, and emergency issue response. So let's get started. Sorry, I changed the slide on my end. Water infrastructure management, when we talk about that, it's all about, of course, making sure our water systems work smoothly. It covers everything from getting clean water to our home to treating wastewater. So it can really involve and consider a lot of different topics. It can involve planning, maintenance, operations to keep everything running safely, which is, of course, crucial for running things smoothly. One of the most important things is reducing cost and risk in water utility management, and having accurate asset records is the key to achieving this. So if you have up-to-date information on where the critical infrastructure is, such as pipes, valves, pumps, you can minimize expenses and mitigate the risks that are associated with just having and operating these kinds of assets. Of course, it's even better if you can then enrich these kind of assets, asset data, with things like, of course, location, age, condition, visual documentation, as that always helps with planning, analysis, and decision-making. For that, of course, you need to make sure that you have reliable data collection practices, and of course, the tools to do just that. Apart from that, effective maintenance scheduling is also essential for ensuring this kind of reliability and longevity of the infrastructure. This includes coordinating field crews, providing operational visibility, and of course, verifying any kind of work that was completed in the field. So you do need that kind of interaction between the field crew and the office teams, and you want to make sure that they're all kind of in sync. By streamlining this process, you can definitely then enhance your efficiency and reduce any kind of potential downtime. So it's important that any kind of information that's collected in the field is as soon as possible available to the teams in the office that can then allocate the resources accordingly. Of course, it all comes down to optimizing these costs. It's of course a priority. You want to maximize your resources and minimize the expenses, as with any kind of utility that you manage. And this can involve assessing things such as the number of people required for maintenance visits, fuel consumption if you're doing any kind of tracking of your fleet for this field operations. And of course, you can then also track contractor performance as well. So in order to do that, you would, of course, need to use different kind of tools. Whereas if you're working with a cloud-based platform that kind of combines all of that, it's much easier to keep track of that. Bon, would you maybe like to talk a bit more about leak detection?
Yes, so I would like to mention, excuse me, I'm having a bit of a sore throat. Some key points in our solution for leak detection and inspections are identifying and prioritizing areas prone to leaks or infrastructure deterioration, and managing field crews and assets and tracking daily performance. So with leak maps, you can track, analyze, predict issues using a GIS application, which in our case is on the cloud, which means everything is available in real time to all of your teammates, be it in the office or field crews. You can visualize collected leak inspection points or pipes, and you can identify hotspots and new areas to inspect. And this is all in service of creating and upkeeping a spatial database of inspection results, and you can plan maintenance activities. And of course, when we speak of maintenance activities, this also entails crew coordination. So with crew coordination is necessary for real-time monitoring of areas that have been inspected or need to be visited in a defined time frame. This solution helps track employee efficiency and time spent in the field, helps identify high and low performers, time spent by type of maintenance, and of course, keeping track of the job done. We would also like to say that it is important to include customer feedback in daily operations as well by giving the customers access to real-time maps through inspection requests and verification maps. And of course, this boosts client satisfaction. And to sum this part up, by analyzing historical data, maintenance records, and geographical information, you can pinpoint areas with a higher likelihood of leaks or equipment failures. And with that in mind, utilities can focus resources on proactive maintenance to reduce water loss and, of course, focus on optimizing asset and crew management. So, Barbara, would you mind telling us more about the emergency issue response solution?
Of course. You might have noticed that, some of the themes that Bojan mentioned, they were also something that we mentioned before in the water infrastructure management part. Of course, each of these kind of use cases and solutions, you will have things that kind of repeat because it's simply part of different, those are things that are parts of all of different processes. So it's very it's kind of a given that things like that will repeat. So he mentioned having public facing interfaces where you can then share the data with general public and with contractors, with management. These are all things that also come up during when we talk about emergency issue response as well. This can be anything from customers reporting problem to managing teams during different kinds of emergencies. Maybe it's like a natural disaster or a network outage, to also improving customer experience for everybody who is actually using the distribution network that we're kind of focusing on and working with. If we're talking about issue response, for example, when customers report problems, it's kind of crucial to have a system in place that will handle those issues effectively and efficiently. With that in mind, it can be quite useful to be able to create a map that has just one place where all of the issues are, along with any kind of details that you might need. For example, the type of problem or priority level, that will then help you prioritize your response teams and prepare them to tackle the problem on site. We also mentioned things like emergencies, so working with during natural disaster or network outages, where the key to everything is communication. So you want to make sure that you're providing real-time information about these situations, as that can help you prioritize repairs and, of course, coordinate with the field crews, with the emergency responders. This can ensure that everything that you do is effective and quick, and of course that benefits not just your network, but also the community and the clients themselves. To improve the customer experience, Juan mentioned part of it is, but it's crucial to provide accurate and up-to-date information. This can be anything from like service availability and planned interruptions to having customer portals where clients can access this kind of information in real time. What we're working towards, of course, is a transparency that can ultimately reduce complaints and, as Juan already mentioned, boost customer satisfaction. Okay, and our last one,
And
water quality.
yes, and our last one is a solution for water quality monitoring and watershed management. So some of the key benefits of a cloud-based solution for water quality and watershed management would be, well, first of all, reducing operational costs. Everything is on the cloud and you're not using any of your hardware resources. Next, all of your data can be in one place, be it data from public sources, your pre-existing data, and any newly collected or acquired data. And of course, all of this is available to everyone on your team at all times, and every change you make is also available in real time. So next, when talking about water quality and watershed management, it's important to identify risk areas. So here you can visually represent and analyze land use, soil types, hydrological data, and combine it with the data collected by field crews to identify any vulnerabilities and anticipate changes. And of course, as it is mentioned previously, it is important to map out all of your assets like pipes, valves, pumps, and other water processing infrastructure. Map changes in land use and environment to predict the impact on water resources and infrastructure. And this is, of course, crucial for source water protection, preventing pollution, and sustainable water resource management. And of course, everything you collect in the field, along with your existing data and having all relevant data in one place, allows you to perform spatial analysis, which is necessary for managing your water resources and infrastructure. With spatial analysis, you can identify areas with a contamination risk, you can analyze water quality, and you can assess the impact of infrastructure and environmental factors and changes to the water quality. And I think that covers the 4 solutions.
Yeah, I think that's enough talk. So what we've covered are some of the kind of key use cases that we encounter in our day-to-day work with different utilities, water utilities, of course, specifically. But what we would like to show you, and maybe always the kind of most important part of our webinar, is a live demo where we can show you exactly how it would look like if we take one of these use cases and apply the GIS Cloud platform to resolve and to fit it into the workflow. So let's go ahead and let's switch over to our map. Maybe Brian, you can tell us a bit more about it and show us around.
Okay, so what we'll be showing you today is a simplified version of a workflow which we've observed our clients using. In this case, it will be a water hydrant leak inspection project. So this is a water hydrant leak inspection map, and as you can see on the map, we've already added several layers. We've added the water hydrants layer, the main valves, and the water mains layers. This map, or more accurately, the data that's been added to the map, can be a result of an asset registration and mapping process, which is a part of our solution for water infrastructure management. And this map is also a great starting point, or can be in some of your use cases, a starting point for a leak inspection project. And as you can see on the map, I've already classified the water hydrant layer, and we can see it's classified to inspected and not inspected. Currently, we only have 2 inspected water hydrants, so Barbara, we have a lot of work to do, it seems. Okay, now
I think it's important to mention just that, of course, this is kind of the let's say end solution that you might have. Well, end as in end of the project setup. We've already covered a lot of the kind of setup of the projects in our previous webinars in more educational ones. So we won't be focusing on exactly how things are done. Of course, you will see parts of it, but if you are interested in learning more about how exactly to set this up, we can always help with that part, but we can also just kind of set this up for you, so you don't have to worry if you don't really have a lot of GIS knowledge, because the system is easy to use for anyone, but also we're here to kind of guide you through it and walk you through our solutions. So you basically get kind of everything finished. You have to go to the field and inspect those hydrants.
okay, so we've previously created an inspection form and connected it to the water hydrants layer. And now I'm going to open one of the features so you can see how this form looks like in the map editor. Okay, and here we have the data is structured. So we have some data, general information, inspection data, and some photos. This is a media group. We'll touch upon this a bit later. So let's say a few words about this general information group. So the data is grouped to have, excuse me, it is grouped in a sort of a sensible way. So in this general information group,
It's just general
yeah.
project data.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is the type of data you can that you probably collected as a part of a of asset registration project. So you've collected some basic information like street, district, unit ID, and here we have an installation date. And in this form, you probably noticed that this is all grayed out, which means it cannot be edited in this form. So this is view only, and this is information that cannot be changed accidentally by a field crew or anyone in the office. So this is the general information about our asset. And here we have our inspection group. This is where the fields concerning the actual field inspection are located. And here we have different types of fields apart from the basic text and number input fields. We have, for example, date of inspection, where you can choose a date. You can even choose an exact time. We have predefined lists. For example, here we have simple leak status, be it leak verified or no leak. And there are a few other things we can show live. Best not to spoil everything right away. Am I right?
Yeah, I think we can also, so the kind of main idea behind setting up these kinds of forms is for you to have a structured way to edit this data both in the web applications, but also the mobile applications. A big part of this kind of project where we are inspecting these hydrants or really any kind of asset that we're working with will always be the field part. You will always have field crews that need to actually go out and see the situation live. So we've prepared everything for them. Let me share my phone screen with you so that you can see exactly what the field crew would be seeing. Okay, let me just connect for a second. So Juan showed you how we set up the forms to have different groups. Groups are one of our newest features, in fact, that allow you to kind of group different items together so it's a bit more understandable for the end user to fill out. I'm just trying to see my screen is not displaying the number to connect, so let me just try to connect again to my phone. No matter how many times you try things in the kind of testing of a webinar, you always kind of have some demonstration demons, as my colleague likes to call them. There you go. All right, great. So let's go ahead and let's open our mobile data collection. So what we've covered before is our map editor. Here we have how things will look for the field crew, so the person who is actually doing these inspections. So we'll just select the same project that we're working with, and if I click here on our map, we can see all of the information that's in our map editor as well. So it's very important to have up-to-date information and ways for the field crew to look for specific assets. So you can do this by, for example, we have the IDs that the users can use to search through the data. You can see our search function here. Or of course, you can work to classify your information on the map so that even just kind of visually the users can see which assets they need to look into next. So what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and we'll click on one of our red hydrants here. So it means that it has not still been inspected. We can see inspection status is not inspected. We don't have any information about it apart from the kind of general asset information that we can also use to potentially search for a particular feature. So let's go ahead and say we've come to this particular hydrant. We want to complete our inspection, which means that we have to fill out some information that's relating to this particular hydrant. In this case, of course, we're looking to see if there are any inspections or not. And as you've seen in Map Editor, we also have the groups that we're able to kind of show and hide, so that it's much easier for the field crew to fill out. In general information, we don't have any information to fill out, so that's perfectly fine. What we're concerned with is our inspection section and the media below. So let's go ahead and fill out our form. As you can see, everything is pretty straightforward and simple for anyone to use. We can choose our current date and time. If you're working with time zones, you can also define that as well. Have we noticed any kind of leak in this case? Let's say no.
Yeah, let's say no for this one.
This was, of course, the first inspection, and we can say, let's say that the next one should be in 2 months. So I think it's 15th, no, 16th.
The 16th.
Okay, maybe it's Sunday, so let's say 17th.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect. Photos, we can take a photo if we want to.
I think I maybe put this one as a
yeah, so you can make sure that items in the form are filled out. Okay, so this is not a hydrant, it's a plant, but
yeah, we
we'll work
don't
with
have
it.
a hydrant in the office. That would be a bit weird.
So you can ensure the quality of your data, but by setting different kinds of settings on the fields themselves. And required is one of those settings that you can set up, and so that you can make sure that everyone fills out all of the required information.
I believe that most of the fields that you've checked right now that they're all required. So
okay, great. We can demonstrate on the next one. And we can see as soon as we've set this one to be inspected, the color changed on our icon, and we can actually continue and go to our next hydrant. And again, click on edit. And again, maybe we can also demonstrate. Yeah, so you did put some.
yes,
some
date of
items.
inspection, leak status, and next inspection are all mandatory.
Perfect. So not just having required fields, you can also have dependent fields where items will only display if you're not, if you've set up some kind of a requirement for them. For example, if there is a verified leak in one of our hydrants, we can also we also have some additional work to do on this particular hydrant, which means that there's also some additional information to fill out. So let's go ahead and let's just fill out this one. Let's say 10 liters. We'll replace the main valve. Work started and work ended. Let's say it took us 2 hours to do this. Okay, this was our first inspection, and the next one again in 2 months. Okay, and of course photos. So we have one before and after. So I think we can just kind of do this again. And one more where we actually take a photo of everything. I always love these Inception style photos. Perfect. So our field information data is filled out, and we can see on our map editor right away that everything
Nice.
filled out as well. So
yeah, and it's updating in real time.
Exactly. So you have that real-time kind of connection between the field crews and the office team, so that even if there's maybe some additional requirements for a particular valve or any kind of asset that you're working with, you always have that ability to then maybe reallocate some additional resources to that part if you want to maybe send out some more crew to that location if there's maybe like an emergency or if there's a need for some additional work to be done. Okay, quite simple. But of course, we also mentioned having a public-facing portal. So in case this is a project that you do want to share with the public, maybe this also helps you inform users of potential outages or maybe interruptions to the distribution. You could also set up a custom portal where you can display information for the general public. So something like this, that anyone who has this particular link can open, they can review the data, they can stay kind of connected, stay up to date on everything that's happening, maybe in their area or in their city, if that's of course a concern for them. This is all customizable, so you can set it up completely white label everything essentially.
Yeah, and this is actually a very simple version of that.
Yes,
yeah, these portals can actually be way more complex,
yeah,
more customized.
You could set up a full dashboard with all of the additional information as well. And of course, if that's something that you wish to display, you can also then display all of the additional information, but of course, not necessary if you don't want to. You can also set up the different filters. For example, we have everything north of the bridge displayed here, or only those where we've done the first inspection, or those where we have
verified leaks.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty customizable. Okay, I think that kind of concludes our demonstration portion. So all that's left to do is see if you guys have any questions, if there's anything that you would like to know a bit more about, if there's maybe if maybe you have worked on a similar use case and have some additional questions on how to set this up. So let's go ahead and let's see if we have any questions here. Okay, one of the questions that we received is which specific applications we used for this. So of course, GIS Cloud has a couple of different applications that you can use, and depending on the workflow, you might use one or two or all of them. Of course, it completely depends on what exactly you're doing. So creating projects and creating data collection forms can be done through our map editor and mobile data collection. So these are map editor is our main GIS application that you can create maps in, share your projects, of course. That's sharing and collaboration is the main point behind GIS Cloud. But you can also create data collection projects in mobile data collection portal. The mobile version of the mobile data collection was used to then inspect the hydrants and send the information from the field into of course, your database that you have on your account within GIS Cloud. And apart from that, we've also used a map portal to display the data publicly, but of course, we've demonstrated just some public data here. This can all be done with private information as well. So instead of a map portal, you would have a map viewer that you can, of course, fully customize as well. The only difference is that, of course, everything is behind a login screen. One thing that users sometimes ask is whether they can also have this in their own database. Of course, this particular project is, I think, just stored in the GIS Cloud database, but we do have the option to connect external databases as well, or also firewall installations, so on-premise installations as well, if you are working with any kind of sensitive data. And you want to ensure that everything is kind of hosted on your end as well. So that's a possibility. Okay, so one more question is how to actually find the specific the specific hydrant if you're out on the field. So what we do have is first of all the search function. So we mentioned that all of our projects they had some information that's kind of general. We can use this, for example, unit ID to search for this specific hydrant on the map, and this can be done both here in Map Editor and of course in the mobile data collection app as well. Now the great thing is that once you find the hydrant that you're working with, you can then, the mobile data collection app has a navigate to feature option, which essentially takes you to the default map application on your phone. So it's either Google Maps or Apple Maps, depending on what you're using, and it will navigate you to that particular area, to that particular feature. And of course, since you have the access to the map, you have information about everything that is around this particular water hydrant. So we can also see exactly if there's any kind of valve in the vicinity, which are the water mains that connect to this water hydrant, what are the other pipes that are maybe near that perhaps require some additional inspection as well, or maybe you need just the information to have on hand. So not just this, but you can also put additional information, things like type of access, so whether you're able to get with any kind of large equipment, large vehicles to that particular area, if you require some kind of permits to access a certain area. So these are all just kind of operational visibility items and things that you can add to your map to make it a lot more informative for everybody who is working in the field crew. Of course, you can always kind of have separate maps for the field teams and the office teams and set them up in ways that work separately for the office and the field crew, because the point of having all of this stored in cloud is that everything that you have one single point of truth. So there's just one location where data is stored. It's not in 10 different places. Your colleague doesn't have a version from 2 weeks ago on his desktop. So everything is kind of up to date and relevant. Okay, any more questions? Okay, it looks like everybody is interested. Everybody knows everything about water utilities, but you've just come to hear our wonderful voices. That's great as well.
Yeah.
I think this is then a good kind of cutoff time for us. 45 minutes is it's quite a good time to
webinar.
Yeah. As we mentioned, so there will be a recording of this if you want to rewatch it later, or if you need to share this with any of your colleagues. And do stay tuned for some additional content where we'll be holding a webinar for one of these use cases specifically. I think the first one will be the infrastructure management. So do keep an eye on that. Follow our blog and our socials to make sure that you're kind of notified when that comes out. And yeah, hope to see you on that webinar as well. You can always reach out to us if you have any kind of additional questions, either to our emails or to info@gscloud.com. We're more than happy to help you out and set up your workflow and help you set up your projects. So do keep in touch. And yeah, have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you again for joining today's webinar. Bon, any last words?
Any last words? Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and feel free to reach out to us. Have a great rest of your day.
Exactly. Okay, bye everyone. Thank you.